Hello everybody, and welcome to another edition of the MrWarrenHayes Show. I, of course, am Mr. Warren Hayes, your maestro for the next couple of hours in regards to professional wrestling analysis and discussion. That's what I'm going to be doing right here on the MrWarrenHayes Show, a pro wrestling podcast. It's in the name in case you're wondering what this is all about. Thank you everyone for joining me here on youtube.com/MrWarrenHayes or on your favorite podcast application. And wherever it is that you're popping in from, consider showing a little bit of love, like a like on YouTube, a 5-star review on Apple Podcast, a 5-star rating on Spotify. All these things help out tremendously and help the podcast grow and just adds a little fuzzy to my innards, and I get fuzzy innards, which then I have to get checked out at the doctor. So that's kind of how things go. Give me fuzzy izzards. I can't even talk anymore. That's what fuzzy innards do to you. Also, if you can stand the nonsense, come and join us on the Mr. Warren Hayes Show Discord. The link is in the description. If you want a nice place that is not Twitter to talk about pro wrestling, it's the destination for you. Couple of housekeeping notes just before we jump in. As you know, usually on Thursdays I do the Dynamite review. That's still there. But also this week I will be airing an episode. It is a special episode of the Mr. Warren Hayes Show, a preview show for the G1 Climax 34, New Japan's big wrestling tournament, probably the biggest wrestling tournament in the world, pro wrestling tournament in the world. Is going to be happening soon, starting on July 20th. And I have Chris Samsa of Pro Wrestling, sportofprowrestling.com. He's going to kill me. Sportofprowrestling.com, who's going to be joining me to break down the show. That's all happening on Friday. We recorded the episode. It's tremendous. It's a great preview of the G1 coming up. And if you're a member of the Mr. Warren Hayes Show channel on YouTube, if you've joined up and become a member, you will have early access to that as of Wednesday. As of today, probably as when you're listening to this, become a member, turn your notifications on, and be sure to not miss a moment where with me and Chris Samsa. Why would you? Why would you miss a moment? It's great. But it is a great preview, and I'm excited to share it with you. And it really gets you hyped for what's coming. And of course, that leads us into my daily G1 coverage, which is going to start on July 20th, just like I've been doing over the past couple of years. I will be doing daily wrap-ups of everything happening in the G1. So it's G1 fever, baby. It's here. It's coming up. I'm excited for it, and I hope you are too. And if you're not, I'm going to get you excited. You can just count on me to get you excited for the G1. As of today, though, what's going on? Well, Warren, how about getting me excited for your show today? Okay. How about we go with a Money in the Bank review? How about we go with an NXT Heatwave review? How about a bunch of little news and newsy items and stuff like that? It's little bits and bobs to talk about all throughout. We've got a good show. It's a fun show. It's a great show. Come and join us live because we record every Tuesday night at 7 p.m. Eastern, every Tuesday. And it's always a good time. And this show was particularly great live. I was really, really happy about it. So we'd love to have you. Come and join us. But if not, it's fine. Look, you're here now. You're enjoying it on your own time. And that's the beauty of it all. Thank you very much for being here. Let's go. All right, let's start this off then with a few contract notes. And as if on cue, chat alerts me to something that I didn't know. Okay, interesting, which is related to this topic. See how great it is to do stuff live? You never miss out on stuff because everyone is like, it's tremendous. Jordan Grace, her contract seemed, everyone's contract is coming up, right? That's not the problem. That, you're a contracted employee. It is not news to say that your contract is, going to come up because that's just the reality of life. when you're a contracted employee. But we've learned about when her contract is up. She was on a podcast with Matt Morgan. Matt Morgan has a podcast called Gigantic Pop. Matt Morgan, isn't this the same Matt Morgan who sort of scammed people with a golf tournament? Am I getting my look? What's it like? He's an elected official somewhere, and it's with Raj. The podcast is Matt Morgan and Raj. Could you put like two people together that I would like to listen to less? Let me see here. I want to make sure that I'm not making stuff up here, but he had like some financial things. Does his Wikipedia page talk about it? God, I hope so. Political career, personal life. There's no controversy. Are you kidding me? This is not part of the Wikipedia page. Okay, there's an article here on prowrestling.net. Former pro wrestler Matt Morgan's financial dealings with Joel Greenberg chronicled in... Okay, what is this? See, I wasn't completely off. Former WWE and Impact wrestler Matt Morgan financial relationship with former Seminole County, Florida tax collector Joel Greenberg, it's always Florida, was chronicled in an Orlando Sentinel story. The article states that Morgan started a company named Blueprint Enterprises LLC, right? The Blueprint. And in October 2019, that same month, the Seminole County Tax Collector's Office, while under Greenberg's command, started paying Morgan $4,500 a month. Oh, that's it. He was getting money like as a consultant. He was getting money as a consultant and wasn't doing anything. That's it. Okay, see right here. I'm pointing to the screen. I'm doing I'm doing the DiCaprio meme, but none of you see what I'm pointing at. I'm just really hype. What do you want from me? The tax collector's office told the Orlando Sentinel on Monday that they could not find a contract with Morgan's company. Likewise, auditors hired by the Seminole County Fund found, quote unquote, no evidence of a work product involving Morgan's company when they were hired to investigate following Greenberg's arrest last year. Oh, that's it. The guy was scamming the county out of money, and it turns out that Matt Morgan was like, just like a pro wrestler. The Sentinel added that Morgan had a $37,000 tax lien for unpaid income taxes since 2011, so he's not even paying his taxes. Oh. And he was released from the lien on October 9, 2019, 2 days after he started Blueprint Enterprises LLC. Morgan's company was paid a total of $40,500 by the Seminole County Tax Collector's Office. Morgan did not respond to numerous requests for comment. Why? Huh. See, I knew there was something. I knew there was like, I could remember there was like, wait, wasn't he scamming? There was something financial. And he was essentially scamming taxpayer money, right? One of these good old-fashioned dudes goes around calling themselves a patriot and whatnot. It's always the same thing. It's always these guys. I'm a patriot. I look out for the county, look out for the little guy. I look out for the country. And then he's the first guy. He's not paying his income tax on top of that. That's just tremendous. These are the folks that Raj wants to hang around with. That's just tremendous stuff right there. That's just tremendous stuff. All right. So moving on, let's get back to Jordynne Grace. So she on this Meaning of the Minds podcast she was on. She said that, quote unquote, I am under contract until January of this upcoming year. But then Fightful reported that Grace's contract was originally set to expire in the summer of 2025, but apparently got an amendment to shorten the length of her contract for at least 6 months, right? And she'll be a free agent coming January 2025. So there you go. So the question, of course, that we all have, that is burning our lips right now, that has us scratching our beards, whether they're actual or metaphorical. It's kind of metaphorical beard. The question that we have, of course, is what is she going to do after? I wonder what's up on Jordynne Grace's plate when she's done with TNA. Gosh darn it, God Willie. I wonder what she'll be heading for. Oh man, in January. I mean, I guess MLW's a good place. You know, the women's division in NWA could use a good shot in the arm. Tour Japan. Oh, I mean, WWE has to bring someone into NXT who's able to take one of those Julia shoot headbutts, right? Because Kalani Jordan's not going to appreciate getting headbutted right in the nose. That'll rattle her cage a bit. That might change a trajectory or two. Hey, Get Joe Podcast. Nice to see you, man. Welcome. I don't know. I don't know. I don't know what's good for. No, listen. I say I don't know. We do all know. We know what's going on here. It's it's written on the wall. And I mean, good for Jordynne. Go get paid, Jordynne. Go get paid. Get as much money out of this wrestling boom that you can. I'm happy for her. It's fun. Here's someone who, she's worked and toiled on the indies for such a long time, and she went through so many transformations, a huge body transformation on top of that. Go cash in on all of this. Go make a check, a big fat check. Please do. Lola Vice. Yeah, the shooter. She'll eat a Julia shoot headbutt. Bonk. There'll be no ass jiggling after that, I'll tell you what. What? I mean, that's what she does, right? So good for Jordynne. So her contract, she'll be with WWE early in 2025. I think that's fair to say. And honestly, she'll probably get pushed in NXT. She'll probably get pushed in NXT. So it's fine. And Chad's talking about the partnership between WWE and partnership in quotations between WWE and TNA. Look, TNA might just turn into WWE's feeder system, right? Just like New Japan is AEW's. Hey-oh, badooms. Thank you. I'm here all night. We've only just begun, folks. In other contract news, Damon Kemp is no longer with WWE as well. He is the brother of Gable Steveson, of course. Bobby Steveson, I believe. And he's now a new agent. He announced that on Monday this week that he is no longer under contract with WWE. As he said in his tweet, quote, "Forever grateful for the people I met and the experiences I've had." Unquote. Fightful then reported that indeed Kemp's contract was not renewed by WWE, so they just quietly let him go. No catch quarter, no Christ. What were they called? No quarter catch crew. No catch crews in the corner. Don't put the catch crew in the corner. No contract catch club. Christ, that's funny. The no contract catch club. I love it. Chat, is that someone else who used that line? Can I use that? Or people are going to, oh, that's JD from NY or whatever, you know? Can I use that? The no contract catch club. That's funny as hell. That is really funny. Thank you. I will use it. But that's essentially it, right? Like, who's left? Like, so of course, Drew Gulak is gone, and Charlie Dempsey is still there. Damon Kemp, and who was there was a fourth dude, right? There was a fourth guy. What was his name? No quarter catch crew. Who the hell is Miles Bourne? What's a Miles Bourne? Who's Miles Bourne? I don't know who these people are. And Tavion, like Miles Bourne, who is this guy? Like, could you get more generic pro wrestler type? Like could you get more generic? Miles Bourne, but not Bourne, not Evan Bourne. Bourne. This guy's Bourne, not Bourne. You know, it's the Matt Damon movies, right? It's Jason Bourne, not Jason Bourne. Jason Bourne. There's a little difference in the inflection, folks. It's not Bourne, it's Bourne. Miles Bourne, not Bourne. It's Bourne. Bourne. It's Miles Bourne. It's Evan Bourne. It's Miles Bourne. It's Evan Bourne. Bourne. And Tavion, what's the other guy? Tavion Heights. That sounds like somewhere I could go hike. Sounds like a really nice little hiking place. Who is this dude? I don't know who these people are. I don't know who these people are. So it might just end up being, as we mentioned, the no contract catch club. Except for Charlie Dempsey. He's going to be fine. I have no thoughts. I thought he was the better between him and his brother. I thought he was the better of the two. I think he showed a little more potential. I don't think they're like dropping that they're making a huge mistake, that they're dropping this tremendous talent that is going to rise the ranks. I don't think that's Damon Kemp, Bobby Stevenson. But listen, my analysis on this though, because everyone's been saying, oh, that just goes to show how much they cared about him, in regards to his brother. And okay, maybe, but here's what I'm thinking. He's been like 4 years in the system. If they release him 4 years after, they've got, he's not progressing, he's not moving forward. I much prefer that they release him 4 years into the thing, as opposed to having them stay there for 7, 8, 10 years, 12 years. And then be like Aaliyah, right? Like Aaliyah. Why was she kept around so long? And then the minute she hits the main roster, hit the bricks. Dijak is another great example, right? And Dijak was already competent pro wrestler, very good pro wrestler, and he sits around 7 years in NXT and then they cut him? Like, at some point, just, and these NIL kids, they're all super young athletes in their physical prime, right? Like, you know, that's what it is when you're in your 20s. And I don't think anyone likes when you're an athlete. I wouldn't know, but I have talked to athletes, and I don't think anyone really appreciates losing these prime years of theirs, sitting down, being benched. They would be much more happy to be competing, doing anything than just coach saying, no, stay home. We don't need you. You're still getting paid, but we don't need you, kind of thing. So if this is a new rotation, a new way of approaching things in WWE's developmental, I can't be against that. I support that, actually. If the kids aren't showing any way, any development, any serious development where you're like, yeah, there's something here that we can mold, just send them home. It's fine. Look, we hear that he being Bobby Stevenson gets released. Not gets released, excuse me. That's the bad terminology. He's no longer with the company. His contract's not renewed. And I think it was today, right? Didn't they announce a new NIL hiring, right? What's his name? Like Keck Thunder? I think that's his name. And that's a real name. Let me double check that. And let me make sure here. Yeah, this is actually a guy. This is his name. Thunder Keck. It's not Keck Thunder. It's Thunder Keck. I want to try and find the... He's a Stanford football player. Thunder Keck. So it's like, he's got the built-in name. He's fine. He's good. He's fine. And that's not a joke. And but outside of the name being outstanding, I think they announced it today, like that he's the newest NIL signee. And I'm like, okay, well, there you go. I much prefer WWE do that with the kids they're trying to make something out of, instead of insisting that they stay there for years upon years and their athletic prime being wasted away where they could be doing something else. I mean, I think that's fine. I think that's fine. Hey, Conrad of Everything Pro Wrestling, good to see you, man, and welcome. Another contract re-signing has been Angel Garza, which is sort of surprising. Like, if there was one guy that I figured, you know what, I might just go back home for a bit, I thought it was going to be him, because there's no way he can be, like, happy about how he's being handled in this company, you know? He had previously told us, right, that he had previously told us that him and Berto, still like this, Humberto Carrillo, their deals were expiring like over the summer, but apparently in a Facebook post, Angel Garza revealed that the company offered him a 3-year deal that he could not turn down. So probably sounds like he's got a lot of money into his contract, and I guess it's enough money to make you forget that you're being, booked to shit. So we'll see what happens with Berto. I'll tell you one thing. If I'm Berto and Angel got this sweet ass deal that he couldn't refuse. I tried to match that. But if I'm WWE, I tell Berto, brother, you ain't got the charisma or the chops that this other guy does. You know, like, I don't think, you know, in a perfect world, I think Berto realizes that he doesn't have a chance here, and he'd be better off just heading back to Mexico, and where he would be treated like a star. Just don't go to AAA. Just don't go to AAA. That's all. So that's another bit of news here that as far as contracts go. Brother Fluff Salisbury, nice to see you. And welcome to the chat. And also we learned today that WWE has added a new member to the broadcast commentary team. ESPN broadcaster Joe Tessitore. I'm assuming that I probably sound like a complete goof if I'm mispronouncing his last name, because he is apparently a well-known commentator. Like, he's a bit of a star. There's probably people going right now shaking their phones saying, Warren, you didn't pronounce it. Maybe I did. Like, this is my guess. It looks like an Italian name. We'll give it an Italian inflection kind of thing. But Tessitore. It's Tessitore. See, I screwed up. Thank you, chat. Joe Tessitore is joining the WWE commentary team. This is nonetheless a pretty big deal. The New York Post reported on it. He will still remain with ESPN and ABC, where he calls both college football and boxing. He was also previously an announcer for Monday Night Football. See, if these were all things that I followed, I'd know this, but I don't. And he's going to start with WWE this summer. We don't know whether he's going to Raw or SmackDown. And, well, you know, he's one of Nick Khan's boys. You know, when Nick Khan was an agent, Tessitore was one of these. Tessitore was one of his boys. So there you go, Nick Khan again, finding work for his guys, which is tremendous, really. He's supposed to go to SmackDown. I mean, this might be news that is just breaking. Like, this happened today, if I'm not mistaken, right? So it's the kind of thing that I might not have like the last juicy bits of information here. So there you go. Now, I did read somewhere that apparently he's back. Not he's back, but he's a big pro wrestling fan. So he knows the history. He knows the stories and whatnot. Apparently he knows the stuff, which was not the case with Adnan Virk, and was not the case necessarily with who was the other guy? I don't know. It doesn't matter. But the recent Nick Khan appointees, right? And it turns out that he's really into it. Now, I don't know if this is just WWE PR doing some preemptive PRing, letting us know that he's not going to be a babe lost in the woods when it comes to pro wrestling, that he actually likes it, which I don't think was the case with Adnan, right? I don't think Adnan Virk didn't quite give the vibe that he liked pro wrestling, right? I couldn't have been the only one who felt that. Nonetheless, so there a lot of goings on the contract side in WWE, and chat informed me a few minutes ago, just as we were starting this segment, and I just pulled up the news right here, and it is absolutely true. Not that I was doubting chat. Chat has never strayed me down the wrong path, unless King of the North is here. Other than that, no one has ever taken me down a wrong path. But I just got the news here that again in the contract department, Shane Haste of New Japan Pro Wrestling and currently a member of TMDK along with Zack Sabre Jr. and so on. He has re-signed with New Japan. We knew his contract was coming up this month, and he has re-signed. Of course, he's there with Mikey Nichols. He went back to New Japan after the whole Retribution thing came apart. All came together to form TNDK, and apparently now he's going to be here. He's going to be the contract was supposed to expire in June. Everyone came to an agreement. Shane Haste is sticking around for a while more. So good for him. I get this might be a reason why that New Japan didn't wasn't maybe featuring TMDK all that much over the past couple of weeks or so. It's not that like they're going to be really featured during the G1, but don't get me wrong. But still, they came to an agreement, so that's fantastic. Good news for him. So yeah, that's fantastic. And continuing to add on to the Tessitore talk and educating me as well at the same time, because I'm sorry, like college ball in the U.S. like that is the most American thing. I have no vested interest. I barely have vested interest in things going on like in my neighborhood. Let's say why is there a bocce league every Tuesday night just like right across the street from where I am? Like, why is there a bocce league? I don't know. Don't ask me. I am not interested in the bocce league. And it's not just because I like bocce. I think it's fun. But a league, I don't know. I don't want to be part of a league. Bocce league? Come on now. No interest. That being said, Zach McGibbon in the chat. Nice to see you, Gibby. It's good to see you. Thank you for being here. Says Tessitore is a really good commentator for college football. Hopefully he can translate to wrestling. Hopefully. But we'll see. Because look, here's the thing. WWE fans they seem pretty they're pretty savage when it comes to their commentators, right? Like what was the guy's name? Patrick, the Irish dude, Jason Patrick. Was that it? It doesn't matter. People really didn't care for him. They didn't care for Adnan. They didn't care for Jimmy Smith, right? That was the other guy, right? They really didn't. Kevin Patrick. Thank you, chat. I can always count on you. They're pretty savage. When they don't like a commentator, they'll take a lot. They'll love a lot of stuff from WWE, but bad commentating teams, they won't stand for it. So he was, Tessitore will have his work cut out for him. If he can't live up to it, he's gonna get the axe really, really fast. He's going to get the axe real quick. And look at what they're doing here as well, right? See, what WWE is trying to do more and more is really, even though Triple H told us that WWE is not a sport, it's a movie or TV series about a sport. They do want to blur the lines between the sport thing and the movie aspect of what they do, right? They really want to make you believe that this is a sports thing, right? They tried to do the white out in Toronto this weekend. That failed. Like, I saw people there's about 50% people. Come on now. It didn't work. It just did not work out. Yeah, some people showed up with white t-shirts, but it didn't work. Again, it's not a Canadian thing. We don't do this shit here. We just don't. It's not a thing. I think it was just not the right audience to try and get them to do this. So, they're doing that. They got Pat McAfee on, and now they're bringing Tessitore in, who has all this credibility in regards to college sports. So they're all coming, they're trying to create some legitimacy around all of this instead of hiring pro wrestling fans to be commentators. This is a strategy that we've seen disappear for a while now, we're not getting wrestling people in the commentator seat. We're getting sports people because that adds the air of legitimacy. Whereas going back to Jimmy Smith, going back to Adnan Virk, non-wrestling people in the commentator seat shows, and it takes away from the program because they're not familiar, they don't know, they're not into it. It's okay to have wrestling fans, but we all figured this was a Vince thing, right? Because Vince, Vince and his natural dislike of pro wrestling, it's like, you always thought, he always clamored for that mainstream acceptance. That's what he wanted. He didn't want to be perceived as a lowly wrestling promoter running wrestling shows. It was sports entertainment. It was much classier than all this. And then you could think that these were Vince moves. Turns out it's not necessarily that, because we're still going down that we're going down that route. We're going down that route. Obscurity Knox, man. Nice to see you. And welcome. Yeah, Vince's great duality is that he always hated what he was best at. That's his thing. That's legitimately his thing. So that's where we're at. Contract news, little newsy bits, little nuggets. And before we get into the Money in the Bank review, no, it's done. We're going to review it. The finals of the Owen Hart Foundation Memorial Cup. It's so, I get it. Don't get me wrong. It's just, we're just going to call it the Owen. The finals are set. We've got on the women's side, Mariah May and Willow Nightingale moving forward. Mariah qualified, I believe it was on Rampage this past Friday. Sometimes I get Rampage and Collision stuff confused. But she qualified. She defeated Hikaru Shida to move on to the finals. And we already knew Willow was there because she defeated arch rival Chris Statlander to get to the finals. And Jay White was effectively destroyed by Hangman Adam Page on Collision this week, which places Page in the driver's seat for this coming Wednesday, where he faces Bryan Danielson in the finals. So real quick, I think on the women's side, this was the outcome that most people saw coming, that I saw coming anyway. I'm not going to sit here and pat myself on the back. I don't think it was that much of a stretch. Well, to be honest, let me flip that. I thought Statlander was going to make it to the end, right? I really thought that they were going to have Statlander get a big win finally on Willow, but apparently that's not where it's happening, and we're probably going to extend that feud to Wembley, and that will be like the real deal there. Because I don't think Willow is winning the tournament. I think Mariah May is winning, and she's going to Wembley to challenge Tony so that we can get some closure on all this All About Eve angle that they're running with, that they've been running with, with everyone at this point, with everyone involved in that circle, So I think that's what we're doing. I think that's the thing. And I think that'll be a fun match. I think that'll be good. I think it's and it'll have heat. People will be into it. I think the angle's pretty popular. Yeah, I think there's a lot to this. So and I think Wednesday it'll be a good little match too as well. Will and Mariah May going at it. I wouldn't even be surprised if Statlander gets involved in some way, shape, or form here to cost Willow the match and set up their match for the Wembley Stadium. Meanwhile, Hangman Adam Page has just been tremendous. Once the protagonist of AEW, now absolutely the antagonist, bleeds buckets, goes after Jay White, and he's just like, runs through him. Well, not runs through him in the sense that, but a good savage beating that I was really into. And, pro wrestling doesn't have to be complicated, especially with that. I think that everyone's calling it unhinged. I think that was even in the title of the video. The unhinged promo that Paige cut was just absolutely phenomenal. And I'm telling you, I don't need all sorts of wacky stories and people running around with huge oversized mallets and bunny masks. I don't need people faking sex acts on television to get me interested. I don't need all of this. I just need guys who have this visceral dislike and then we'll carry into a match. We'll bring heat to a match. We'll bring gravitas to a match. I cannot wait for Paige and Swerve to go at it one more time. That promo he cut where he's completely wild-eyed, and saying, he broke into my house. We had to move because of this guy. And you chose him. The people chose him over me. And just right there, you understand his motivations. Why he's fallen off the wagon and he's drinking again. Probably why he's got that mustache now. It all makes sense. And we didn't need tons of exposition. We just needed a promo. And what an incredible promo it is. Now, I beseech Hangman Adam Page to stop making babies and stay on the show. Stay on Dynamite for more than 4 months at a time. I think this company needs him really bad right now. And in fact, look, let me say that again. Not that the company needs him really bad. I think he is something that will continue to add heat and interest to the company. Will continue to heat everything up. Alongside MJF and Ospreay and Swerve and Danielson's next match and all of these great elements that they have set. You throw him in there as well. You throw our boy Hangman in there as well, and he becomes tremendous. And not only am I excited for Hangman Page and Swerve at Wembley, I'm excited for Hangman Page to beat Swerve at Wembley. I'm excited for the second World Championship run. I'm excited for the great Hangman Page title run. Because he had a fine little run, but everyone said it at the end. This will not be his last. And it's not the great one. It's not the big one he has in him. This one feels like it could be special. That's where I'm going with this. I'm really excited for it. And for some reason, there are... I don't want to sound condescending. This is not how I should approach this. Not by saying for some reason. There is speculation, nonetheless, or people arguing that Danielson is going to win and Danielson should win. And I don't think he should. In fact, it adds so much to Danielson's story of him not being able to win the big one towards the end of the end of his career. Maybe he is slowing down. Maybe he's not, maybe he's not the dragon like that he used to be, kind of thing. And I think that's a great, mature, and frankly, incredibly self-aware story to tell if they say that. And I can only applaud Danielson for doing that, because it's not something that pro wrestlers are really into, to show weakness, that they're, that their career's wrapping up, that they're old. That's stuff they don't want to talk about. They want to fight it till the bitter end. So I think I can really get behind Danielson losing, and I'm already there actually. And I think it's an anticlimactic return for Adam Page if he loses in the Owen. Because if he came back, well, no, he did come back last Wednesday for his match, and then he'll have 3 matches in a row on each of the big shows where he's just tearing ass. That's how you also build heat for a challenger contender. And Danielson, here's the thing, as much as everyone I think would love to see Danielson with a big title reign, it doesn't matter to me, because Danielson is the attraction in and about himself. You just put him in a match with someone. You give him the matches that he wants, and then everyone benefits, right? Then everyone just sits back and reaps the rewards of Bryan Danielson, pro wrestler extraordinaire kind of thing. You know, this is that we don't need necessarily the title attached to that. And I think there's more compelling stories to say with him and Mox and the BCC. I think there's something there. Like, anyway, I went on a little more. I went on a little more than I wanted to, but needless to say that this week's Dynamite for the Owen stuff is going to be tremendous. I'm excited. I'm already excited to talk about it on Thursday. I'm already. Look, if you have never listened to one of my Dynamite reviews, they're available on the YouTube channel and on podcast apps. But the one you need to listen to is last Thursday's, when I reviewed the excellent edition of AEW Dynamite, last week's. Can't remember the date. Don't ask me what the date was. July 4th, right? It was America Day. It was I reviewed the July 3rd Dynamite on July 4th. If you've never listened to one and you'd like to just give it a try, that's the one. You might as well come in on a review where I'm enthusiastic, where I have nothing but good things to say, where I'm excited. That was the one. As opposed to coming in and me bitching about stuff. I didn't bitch at all. All I could say was good things, because last week's Dynamite was excellent. Will they be able to continue this week? Hey, listen. I'd like to believe that. There's only one person. There's only one person who can make that decision, if you know what I mean. So maybe, but you should check that out. So I'm already excited. So anyway, be sure that you don't miss this week's Dynamite review, because there's lots of stakes happening on Dynamite this week that I will be breaking down in excruciating detail. Okay, it is time to begin the WWE Money in the Bank 2024 review. This show happened on July 6, 2024 from Toronto, Ontario at the Scotiabank Arena. 18,555 tickets distributed according to WrestleTix. It's a good house. That's very good. People are being silly when it comes to WWE attendance. Really like, oh, we're tarping this off like there were corners, and especially for the Heatwave show, right? It's all people were taking pictures of the things that were tarped off, and what. It's silly. WWE is still doing monster gates. Like, stop it. Oh, look, there's this one section here of the upper bowl. And stop. Hard cam. No. Don't do that. Just don't do that. Yeah, listen, what did I think of this show? I didn't hate it. I think that as far as a Paul Levesque show, I think this wasn't bad. Where I think Paul usually has boring shows. I think there's some stuff here that I enjoyed, but then there's also things that sort of took me out of it. And look, it's not the greatest show on earth. And I think, I think the show is too long for what it is. If there were more matches, you would not hear me complaining about the show was too long. But these interminable commercials and video packages and all this bullshit, it's like, it will just never end at some point. But like it's a nice little 3.25 star pay-per-view. Does that make sense? Like a nice little, and nothing too egregious, but nothing that really excited me, which might be the opposite for Heatwave. But there's nothing here that to me stood out as something like remarkable and look, let's get into it. Let's start breaking this down and you'll see as we go along. But look, another good show, another successful show in Toronto as well. I mean, there's a lot WWE is doing well, and it shows that. Hey, Joe Cook, nice to see you. Joe Cook from Joe Cook Productions. Good to have you on the show. Thank you for being here. So the everything started off with the men's Money in the Bank ladder match, where Drew McIntyre won, took the briefcase off the hook, defeating Andrade, Carmelo Hayes, Chad Gable, Jey Uso, and LA Knight. Yeah, as a fan of The Boys on Amazon, you know the show The Boys, the superhero stuff. There was a big tie-in. I don't know if you noticed. I had a nice little chuckle when I saw the VOT logo on the Money in the Bank briefcase, like physically there. In case you don't watch The Boys, VOT in the show is this huge corporation, right? Whose main product is larger than life figureheads who just so happen to be professional liars, and the company's main corporate concern is controlling public opinion about them. So, I guess you can afford to be clueless about the irony if the advertisement bucks are there, I guess. If I were receiving that amount of money, I would just, I deal with the irony of this happening. Anyway, aside from Andrade, who can be a great worker when he's motivated, and Drew McIntyre, who is a bona fide star, this match, the other men in this match is what I'm trying to say, really put the mid back in mid card. Because look, if it had not been for Andrade, this match would have been tremendously worse. He was bumping and doing the high spots, just doing all the real impressive stuff in this match, while LA Knight and, Jey Uso interacted with each other to get the audience to say their neato catchphrases. Like, the sunset bomb that he delivered to Carmelo Hayes on the ladder onto another, horizontal ladder. The height he had on it, the way he took off from the other side of the ladder, that was spectacular. That was awesome stuff. Objectively impressive. And speaking of Carmelo, for a guy who every WWE fan tells me that he's the next big star for the company, everything about him in this match sort of got crickets from the audience, right? His entrance was, completely dead crowd, and people weren't necessarily into him. It was particularly noticeable, I should say, that when he was doing this one fast-paced hope sequence, he's taking a bunch of people out, he's doing a tope con hilo to the floor, only to climb up the ladder to silence, or at least not a big reaction. Maybe silence is a little harsh, but it wasn't that big of a reaction that he got. Maybe because no one Maybe because no one expected him to win. Everyone was like, it's not going to be Carmelo. It's going to be, Drew. Yeah, the finish is predictable. Well, then maybe build your guys more credibly then. If you're putting him in this match and people are already dismissing Carmelo. And don't get me wrong, when I looked at the field, Carmelo didn't even cross my mind as a guy who was going to win the briefcase. It was more like, he's going to have some nice little high spots and that'll be that. But I've talked about this multiple times on this very podcast. I don't understand what people see that is so special about Carmelo Hayes. Like I don't, it doesn't click with me. I don't understand it. I still don't see what makes him the standout that so many people just latch on to and say he's going to be the next big thing. I think he's going to be a fine upper mid-carder, a nice Jey Uso type of role. Who's, he's going to get these pushy pushes and he's going to eat as many L's as W's, and that's fine. But I don't see him becoming a guy. And everyone seems to think he's a guy, but, there you go. They got me in this match. When Jey Uso did his final climb to the last climb he did up the ladder, they had me. I thought he was winning because he positioned the ladder facing the hard cam, right? In a way where you're like, oh shit, where it feels like the last move, and everything has to be super inorganic in WWE, right? So he has to put it just right and get it. And I'm like, oh my God, they're not really going with Jey Uso, but no, they didn't. Drew torpedoed a ladder at him. Far superior choice. He gets the win. But hey, don't worry about fail upward Jey Uso. He'll be in a big angle soon, even though he's the driest guy they got in such a big spot, in big spots, period. But hey, people stand around and they chant his name. They do the thing. So we'll keep him in there. I thought this was all right. Nothing more though, just all right, fine little match. Again, I'm also, very exhausted about ladder matches in general. You guys know this. So. Sami Zayn defeated Braun Breaker to retain the WWE Intercontinental title. Look, there was no flow to this match, just no flow. It seemed like anytime they were starting to string some stuff together, it stopped. There was a pause. They reset and went into another sequence that was bound to clog up the flow again. At some point, I was sitting on my couch and shaking my remote in my hand like a British nanny, screaming at those guys, to have some fluidity in this match. It is this match here, without a question, my least favorite match of the show. What did my ratings look like? I forgot to give my rating. I write them down. If anyone is interested in keeping score at home, putting it in their database of Warren Hayes ratings. I gave this a 3. See, it's even not that. No, 2.75. I gave it 2.75. So, it's like, it's not even the greatest. It's not even the greatest. I think there could have been a better match in there between these two guys, but there's just, I don't know, the structure really sort of played against us. Oh, by the way, the men's ladder match, I gave it 3.25. I mean, Here's something else that annoyed me, that really annoyed me. Can WWE tell another story with Sami Zayn that doesn't involve him being the underdog? Like, I feel like every time Sami Zayn is wrestling, he's the underdog. The underdog label worked perfectly for his match with Roman because, he was never supposed to get as hot as he did in the first place. And there was, Roman was this unconquerable giant, right? The underdog label worked great with Gunther as well. Legendary run was beating everyone. But a champion going into a match as an underdog? Come on, man. That's just lazy. That's lazy and it's dumb. And how can you be an underdog against a guy who is a recent addition to the roster and is essentially a rookie in the eyes of most WWE fans, right? I want to say do better. I really do. But it's WWE. So, and when it comes to Breakker, not unlike Carmelo Hayes, right? Braun is another guy that WWE fans keep telling me, oh, he's the next big thing, right? And, well, look, yeah, but then again, like 18 months ago, these fans were telling me Austin Theory is going to be the next big thing. Like, I tread lightly listening to this commentary from a fan base who simply parrots narratives that are going around regarding the upward trajectory of upcoming future stars. That being said, I do believe that Braun Breaker's main roster jump has significantly helped him from the miasma that he was in while still in NXT. I thought he had lost a lot of luster. I thought he was exposed during his championship run as, not being ready for the spot. And the way they're handling him now, like a sort of a little Goldberg-esque kind of edge to him, I don't hate it. I think it suits him well. It looks good on him. He looks confident. They're not asking, they're asking him to go in and beat people up instead of being, a baby face and trying to cut promos, that feel alien to him. No, there's something right about this. So, he might be the guy that leads, WWE into the future. I think he's got a better spot than. He's in a better spot than Carmelo Hayes. He's in a better spot than Austin Theory for sure, if you ask me. More so anyway. Is he going to be the guy? I mean, ultimately, whoever WWE decides to get behind, it's going to be that guy and they're going to push him and you're just going to have to sit back and enjoy it. You're going to have to take your medicine regardless, right? Anyway, I thought this was the weakest match of the show. Not a match, but John Cena came out to announce his retirement, which I think took a lot of people by surprise. And basically, he is going to go on this tour. He's going to go on this tour moving forward here, where pay-per-views in 2024 and in 2025 we'll see the last few appearances of John Cena. If I'm not mistaken, he mentioned Royal Rumble, Elimination Chamber, and WrestleMania, right? Those were going to be his last stops. So not even in 2024, come to think of it. He's just he's bowing out, he's leaving now. And I know, it's a big moment, but look, okay, let me start with my own personal experience here. This did not move me. I'm not a John Cena guy. He, in fact, is a guy who eroded a lot of goodwill that I had for WWE because of, well, everything that WWE did with John Cena, the extended pushes, always being the guy, This invincible aura that he had around him, the guys that he defeated in situations where you're like, it should be Bray Wyatt, it should be the Nexus, it should, so on and so forth. And from his one-note in-ring work to his invincible demeanor, he's a guy that I personally hold no reverence for. So his announcement, doesn't have me shook. It doesn't it doesn't have me like crying face emoji, none of that. That being said, despite all of that, I can still appreciate the contributions that he's made to WWE and wrestling. I can appreciate the money he's drawn and how he carried the company on his back during some pretty uneven years. I also understand he's special for WWE fans, especially those who grew up with him, watching wrestling with him during his tenure as the top guy. So I completely understand what he represents for a huge chunk of the fan base. And, I'm not going to sit here and poo-poo this. I absolutely get it, right? But, it's a great money-making prospect for WWE to get out there, sell some tickets. Not that they're having any trouble with it, but, sell a couple more, maybe jack up the prices a little bit. But I also think it's a great gesture for them to plan this out so that WWE fans can celebrate the career of a man who's meant so much for so many. And I think that's legitimate. I think that's very cool. Instead of just like dropping a flash in the pan kind of thing, it's going to be like, no. We're going to do something. We're going to take a path with this, and that's fine. And the chat mentions here, little influence from the Sting retirement in AEW. Like, sure, probably. In fact, very likely, if we're being honest with each other. That being said, who cares at this point? Because I think, like Sting, Cena is a guy who deserves a farewell tour, who deserves to go out on a high note, right? And I think that's fine. I think that's absolutely fine, right? And you see, look here, in the chat we're talking about how, wasn't a fan of Cena until they took their son to Raw, and then the kid got goosebumps on his arm. But that's exactly what I mean, right? And that turned you into a fan because you're a dad, or a mom, and you're seeing your kid, just go bonkers and have goosebumps, and super excited to see their hero in the flesh. And I'm like, of course, that's tremendous, right? And that creates a memorable moment, and that's what great superstars in any sport do. But I think mostly of your kid, who's probably, who will, I don't know if they still watch. I don't know if your son still watches wrestling, but they'll probably be moved. He'll probably be moved by, John Cena pulling out of pro wrestling and having his last matches and, bidding adieu at WrestleMania and all that stuff. I mean, but I'm calling this right now. I'm calling it right now. John Cena's final match at WrestleMania is going to be against Paul Levesque. And if you don't think Paul Levesque wants this, you're new here. I mean, it's the cynical side of me, but I can absolutely see, the only other opponent at WrestleMania, mind you, that makes enough sense for John Cena to bow out to is CM Punk. That, of course, that's still active today, right? Or is still employed by the company or can still go, right? you can rest assured they're not giving John Cena the Kurt Angle treatment on his way out. It's not Baron Corbin in the last match at WrestleMania for John Cena. You can be goddamn sure about that. But Triple H hitting the ring, and then in the months before, WWE creates this new history of this great rivalry that existed between Triple H and John Cena, a legendary feud that never that existed. But anyway. Well, he's retiring. He said, Chad is saying he said WrestleMania wasn't his last match. It's his last WrestleMania. But he said he's retiring. That's what retiring means. Of course, they can drag him back in 2-3 years and plop him in the ring again. But he's retiring. Cena versus Stephanie. Oh, because Trips can't wrestle. I'm telling you, look, don't mark my words. And I'll be glad if I'm wrong. I will be enchanted if I'm wrong. Okay, next match that we had here, the World Heavyweight, the consolation prize. Damian Priest defeated Drew McIntyre and Seth Rollins. Okay, and he retains. So I thought, so this match made me feel good. I thought that Rollins and Priest were rocking and rolling in this one until the nonsense kicked in. But because legitimately, I was into this match, excited at the possibility to jump on to the podcast with you tonight and say, you know what, guys, 4.25 stars, 4.5 stars. This match rocked. I really was excited because I was feeling it. And to tell you, Damian Priest had the best match of his entire WWE run at Money in the Bank. I was really excited to sit down and talk about that. But I gotta stop standing on rugs while watching WWE, because that way they won't have anything to pull out from under me anymore. Outside of the stupid staring up at the ramp stuff, where I'm like, okay, we get it. Both guys, outside of that, this match, both guys had their working boots on. And especially Seth. I don't know if he was told to go out there and make Priest look like a champion, because it sure felt that way. And at one point, Seth buckle bombs Priest, and Priest eats the buckle bomb, but he immediately bounces right back up to his feet, right? And I'm wondering, will the WWE Universe get upset at all the no-selling here and demand that Damian Priest go watch a Randy Orton match and learn how to sell? It didn't bother me, but whenever this stuff happens in WWE, it makes me chuckle. But yeah, it wasn't perfect. It wasn't a perfect match, and Priest messed up a pinfall just before Drew came in. He messed up a pinfall after the Falcon Arrow. He didn't raise, he didn't lift his shoulder to beat the count. And the referee kept himself from counting to 3, right? He did, and Priest didn't even twitch. Was McIntyre supposed to run in at that particular moment and break it up? Should the ref have called it like a shoot? I don't know. Honestly, I don't care. But in any event, this match, this fun, exciting wrestling match that I was enjoying on a Saturday night with my girl, turned into Nonsense Factory. The nonsense parade began. McIntyre cashes in during the match, which is a stupid move. Systematic. Wait till the fucking match is done to make this, and then see he cashes in, and then he goes right for Seth. And I'm like, why is he fighting Seth? And they're, oh, but this has become a triple threat. I'm like, oh, God. And then CM Punk runs in to take out Drew, which then allows Priest to land the South of Heaven for the win. So Damian Priest has not had a single dominant, impressive win throughout there's always been shenanigans throughout his tenure as champion of the consolation prize. He has systematically been involved in shenanigans and interference and nonsense. And again, commentary and turn around and say, such a great, worthy champion. Is like, they're doing the same thing they did with Roman, where they tried to tell us Roman was this great, legendary champion, invincible, so on and so forth, but Roman could not win matches without layers of interference every single time. And now we turn into, we tune to Damian Priest, and they're doing the same thing. Damian Priest, such a great champion. He's not. He didn't even wrestle for the match, for the title. He didn't even win it properly. He cashed it in. He's a heel. And this infuriates me because somehow this translates into, oh, he's a fantastic champion, but he really is not. And on top of it all, on top of all of this, Drew McIntyre looks like such a dork now because of all this CM Punk stuff. He always comes for these big wins, these big moments, and CM Punk always punks him out. I know Drew beat him up on Raw that one time at the, in the garage or whatever, in the underground parking or whatever. But ultimately doesn't matter because CM Punk always comes in to make him lose, ruin his day, get rid of. And now he looks like a dork. Now Drew comes across as a complete dork who can't get his heat back. And that's nonsense. And it's weird because for a while, Drew was not the dork. In fact, he was much cooler than old Phil while Phil was injured, and he was dropping those tremendous tweets and just those great snide promos. Like, Drew was so good, maybe a little too good. Maybe a little too good. Now he doesn't look as cool now. Now CM Punk's getting his cool back. Isn't that a coincidence? Huh. Almost as if someone was kind of afraid that the other guy was getting more over than him. Huh. Isn't that interesting? Anyway, this match I ended up giving, I can't find my ratings anywhere. I ended up giving this match 3.5 stars, but I promise I was ready to go higher on this. I was ready to go higher until WWE got in its own way. Just as simple as that. Then we had the women's Money in the Bank ladder match. Tiffany Stratton defeated Chelsea Green, Io Shirai. I swear, I can't do it. Io Sky. I can't do it. Lyra Valkyria, Naomi, and Zoe Stark. Okay, so Chelsea Green got one of the biggest reactions of the evening because she's Canadian. And they're in Canada, and apparently we're supposed to cheer only for Canadians in Canada, I don't know, or more for Canadians. I don't know. I don't feel these great levels of patriotism just because I don't feel I have to cheer for you just because you lived on my block kind of thing. If if I don't like you, I'm not going to cheer for you. Not that I don't like Chelsea. No, I kind of don't like Chelsea. If we're being honest. But here's the thing. As someone who does not partake in the week-to-week WWE programming, I was screaming at my television. And Kristen is in the chat. and she can attest to this. I was screaming at my television set as Chelsea Green was climbing down from a ladder at the start. She was climbing down a ladder instead of climbing to the top and then swinging the ladder at the briefcase. I'm like, what is she doing? What the hell? And then later it is explained to me that she has a fear of heights. That she was put in this match, but she has a fear of heights. But instead of making me like nod in approval and go, ah, yes, well played, astute storytelling, WWE, I instead screamed, why is she in the match then? What? Why is she in the match? Why put someone in the match in the match where the gimmick is you have to reach heights? Why put someone in the match that even in kayfabe has a fear of heights? I don't understand, and they even completely disregarded that towards the end. But listen, as our good pal Papa Paul told us, recently said, not that long ago, WWE is not a sport. It is a movie about a sport or a television show about a sport. So maybe I'm going about this all wrong. Maybe I should start reviewing WWE as a TV show, as if I'd be reviewing Three Body Problem or The Boys or The X-Files or Lost or, CSI Niagara Falls or wherever they're at with it. CSI Niagara Falls would actually be cool because every week it's murders that happen, like people throwing people other people off the falls, right? And then they get into the coroner's office and they're like, well, it would appear that he drowned after impact after impacting the water after being thrown off the falls. And that's the thing every week, right? That'd be tremendous. What a great gimmick. Hollywood, call me. I got ideas. So maybe that's it. I should review WWE as a show. I should focus, on the quality of the acting, of the performances overall, of the script writing, the cinematography. Oh, come to think of it, that doesn't quite work in their favor either. This match started off sloppy and on the verge of disaster. But it feels like everyone pulled it together and delivered what I would call a delightful spot fest. How about that? Again, I'm suffering from ladder match fatigue, but this one here managed to entertain me, if only because of the amount of spots and the damage these women were putting their bodies through, especially Zoe Stark on that bump where she knocked her head out. Good for her if she's got nothing. She's tough as nails. If not even concussed, I'd be concussed. I'd be dead. They'd be like he died from concussions. I thought Lyra Valkyria was a particular standout in the match, and Zoe Stark as well. And Zoe Stark, that like I said, that tremendous driver, Michinoku driver type move that Yoshikar did. It's just amazing. Just tremendous, insane, nutzoid stuff. And Stratton, who was getting the biggest reactions of the night, finally won a big one in WWE as she pushed see, Chelsea Green, the acrophobe. Did you know that someone who has a fear of heights is called an acrophobe? She's an acrophobe, but yet nonetheless managed to go to the top of the ladder, the tallest ladder. She's managed to do that by the end of the match. She overcame her fear of heights within a 10-minute time span, folks. Good for Chelsea Green. And Tiffany Stratton pushed her off the ladder, and she flew off the ladder onto tables on the floor. That's a tremendous spot by Chelsea Green. Let's be completely transparent with each other. That was impressive as hell. Scary fucking spot. And yeah, then Tiffany Stratton climbed up and grabbed the briefcase, and the right woman won. And I think it was about time. Like, I don't think this crowd would have accepted any other outcome than Stratton winning. I really don't. So yeah. Oh yeah, Michael Cole and Corey Graves, right, at the end of the match, they had started subtly burying the match at first. They were calling it a train wreck, that was ugly. Like, that's code. That's WWE announcer code that goes all the way back to JR. It's the commentator's way of telling an astute audience, someone who's paying attention, that what's going on is not great, not good, depending, bowling shoe ugly was usually JR's term when he didn't like a match, when he thought the match was sloppy. Well, folks, this match is bowling shoe ugly, That's what they're going out there calling this a train wreck when there's obvious botches happening, things are sloppy. So, okay, we get it. So they were very subtly burying the match at first. But then at the end up like they're almost moved to tears. They're talking about how it's one of the greatest matches they've ever called ever. They're giving it a standing ovation at the end. And I'm sitting there and I'm going, oi, let's pump the brakes for a little bit, because this was great and all, and that's cool. Let me say that again. If you thought this was great and all, that's what I wanted to say. If you thought this was great and all, that's cool. Don't get me wrong. But calling this great, to me, in this circumstance, is far-fetched. It's a little too much. Like I said in my review of the show over on voicesofwrestling.com, calling this match great is like saying EMF is a great Manchester band when the Happy Mondays are right there. If you get all those references, I appreciate you with all my heart. I gave this match I ended up giving this match, what is wrong with my rating system? 3.5. I thought it was good. Like I said, a delightful spot fest. And finally, we had the main event where the Temu Bloodline defeated Cody Rhodes, Kevin Owens, and Randy Orton. Randy Orton. So between this match main eventing, right, and people during the day saying, "Oh, sources in the building have gone hush hush, hush," WWE PR sending it out to everyone, and lots of tweets, lots of people using the term hush hush. Between the main event and the hush hush tweets being sent out, I was fully expecting Roman Reigns to show up, right, and start his feud with the Temu Bloodline. I think that's the path we're heading towards, right? But no, instead what we got was a very capable and fine Friday Night SmackDown style main event to wrap up a show with as close a clean finish that you'll find with Solo Sikoa, the most unconvincing mob boss since John Travolta and Gotti, getting the pin on Cody Rhodes. Solo just screams, "I'm keeping this warm till Roman comes back." Crazy. Mr. Fantastic, nice to see you. And welcome. Kevin Owens was the MVP of this match, right? Just like working with fire and passion. Like, one of the guys who always has a light. He's just blazing every time, right? Kevin Owens just hits different in this WWE environment, and this fire is maybe only matched by Tama Tonga, who put his trademark explosiveness to good work here, and Owens is so good at this, right? He's struggling to fight off the three bloodline guys in the ring. Like he's the Ricky Morton, and he's fighting valiantly, and he's doing it so convincingly with such passion that the audience is chanting very organically, "Fight Owens, fight," which is tremendous. Look, honestly, there's a timeline out there where Kevin Owens is the top guy in WWE. This match also served to introduce the WWE Universe to Jacob Fatu, who they are booking as a brute, just a wild man brute. Hell, he even no-sold Randy Orton, giving the old draping DDT. I'm sure WWE fans will rush to their keyboards, appalled at this lack of selling, at this no selling, and demanding that Jacob Fatu go watch a Randy Orton match, despite the fact that he was in a match with Randy Orton. To any extent, this was your... Look, this match, I think the thing that bugged me the most was that this match had your typical bloodline match structure, right down to the ref bump and fighting on the floor and nonsense, right? It had been a few months since we saw this, since we were subjected to this. It was one of the reasons I think Cody at the top was so refreshing, having his matches with AJ Styles where they just end clean. You're like, oh, this feels nice again. Now we're right back to it. We're right back into the mix. So, the nonsense and this led to Tonga Loa, botching the low blow and doing it once, punching basically, Kevin Owens in the asshole, and then trying it again, landing the low blow, but also knocking Tama Tonga in the head as well. I think, as silly as this all looked, I think it's kind of become, people have sort of think now that, and I saw some tape afterwards too, and I'm like, oh yeah, okay, we'll rewatch the clip. Tama Tonga got knocked out on the table spot. Like, I think he had a true concussion. He seemed like he fenced after the headshot, and he was probably concussed, and that's why he messed up. We'll give him the benefit of the doubt here, because I think he did get his, if not a concussion, he got his bell rung pretty severely. But listen, as someone who has no vested angle in this angle or this feud, I sort of sat through this match going, okay, all right, when's Roman coming out? Because that's what these bloodline matches have trained me to wait for the interference, for the stuff to happen. And then and then I think about it a little more. I get deeper into this detachment that I have with this angle, and then I realize that there's a very good chance that we're getting Solo Sikoa and Cody Rhodes at SummerSlam. And I hope not, but logic would tell you that this is the way to go. I gave this match 3 stars. Like, I don't know, so very basic. I think, no, I didn't give it 3 stars. I did give it 3. Might have even, I think I should have given it 2 3/4. So that's it. That was Money in the Bank 2024. Yeah, not the worst Paul Levesque special here, but not great by any stretch of the imagination. And I thought the Money in the Bank matches had enough spots going on to keep you entertained. And there was that latent hope in the Seth Damian Priest match, but WWE got into the way. And now we are going to be reviewing NXT Heatwave, which was the big show that they had just this past Sunday, July 7, again in Toronto, Ontario, at the Scotiabank Arena as well. I think I just want to get into the matches, and because there's going to be one in particular that's going to be taking up a little time here once we get to it, which we'll get to it very, very shortly. But the Rascals showed up in TNA to go back up Wesley, who we're going to talk about, because Wesley lost to Obafemi. Obafemi retained the WWE NXT North American Championship in the opening match. Isn't that interesting? And then Wesley was having a Wesley had a a moment after the match where he's like, I don't know what my direction is anymore. I don't know what's going on, and so on and so forth. No, well, I'm sorry, chat. Aren't you telling me that the Rascals went to NXT? Is that what I'm understanding? So apparently, yes, indeed, the Rascals did show up on NXT. Correct. But as far as our match with Obafemi and Wesley, this was your classic big man, little man match. There was, just your basic stuff. A one-sided power offense by Obafemi, as Wesley, popped up with some hope spots now and then, and again, just to get crushed. And Obafemi looks great. And once this guy pieces it all together, once he brings it all together, once he's figured it out, because he's got so many things already. He's got the size, he's got the presentation, he's got the swagger, but once he's able to unify all of that, when he's able to bring it all together, once his in-ring gets solid and confident, because he's still very green, you watch him wrestle, sure, it's impressive what he does, but there's still some things where you can see it's, this was a little soft, this was a little unpolished. Once all of this comes together, he is going to be a superstar with a capital S in the Oxford Dictionary sense of the word. People talk to me about, as we were mentioning earlier, Braun Breaker, Carmelo Hayes, Austin Theory. Obafemi, out of all those dudes, is the guy that I think has the most upside. If you want to throw all of these guys into, these are the future of the company. This guy, but he's not ready. He's not ready for the big time. He's not ready for the big spot, but he's close. He's getting there. He just needs more seasoning, a little more time in the oven. Hopefully he stays injury free. Hopefully he keeps his head screwed on straight. All these things that could still go horribly wrong. If he stays on this path, I really think Obafemi is the guy who has the most clear upside in this company. But he's still incredibly green, and don't let anyone try to fool you otherwise. This was a great match because Wesley was the perfect opponent and was making sure, that he'd keep throwing himself at Obafemi throughout this entire match to make Femi look like a beast. And it worked. There's nothing wrong with that. It worked. It's just at some point, Femi will have to stop depending on others to make himself look good, right? Anyway, but he is 100% main roster stuff. You can feel it. Like this is going to be a winner for this company. I gave this match 3 3/4 stars. I thought that was a hell of a blast. Honestly, this show peaks. It peaks, and after the peak, well, comes tumbling apart. Because there's a lot of people who think the show is the greatest NXT show of all time. And I think these people are absolutely delusional. I think it's a good little show. I think there's legitimately a great match on this show. There is one legitimate great match on the show. And that can go a long way for NXT. And I thought that, but also it fell apart afterwards. All right, let's get to one of the big talking points. NXT Women's North American title match. Kalani Jordan successfully retained her title against Sol Ruca. Boy, oh boy, has this been the center of attention, of discussion, of the discourse, trademark. And I believe very sincerely that I am going to give you the fairest review of this match that you're going to get anywhere out there. Because I feel like there's two extremes to this. It's like there's people who thought this was the greatest thing. There's people who thought this was the worst thing. And I think this is one of these matches that has elements of both, but there's other things that I feel people are missing the point on and that we're not talking about. And look, did I think this was a good match? Okay, let's start with that. Did I think this was a good match? Yes, I guess, but not on the same level as, Obafemi versus Wesley. I feel like I'm being a little generous here, maybe to a degree. Look, the match starts off, and we all saw the clip with the gymnastics routine, right? We all saw it. We know what we're talking about. And I don't have a problem necessarily with it. Did I think the routine was good? Not really. I don't think it was well done. And the routine itself, the clip that everyone is watching, is what, like a 20, 25, 30 second moment in an entire match that lasted, a little over 8 minutes. Nearly 8 minutes, 30 seconds. So there's a whole part to this match that nobody's discussing, and I think is still very impactful. But when I saw the opening where they're doing the routine, and I'm going to call it that. It's not necessarily a problem for me. Again, when I saw them doing that, I was like, okay, I see what's going on. I understand what's happening. And then the rest of the match connects. So I see what's happening, and I'm like, look, what I'm watching here is an exhibition of two athletes who are so incredibly green pro wrestlers. They are putting on a demo of what they are capable of doing. They're talented athletes. They're gifted athletes. Both of them are. We're not going to take anything away here. I mean, they did moves. They did impactful stuff in the routine. As I'm watching it, I'm sitting there and going, wait, this is a recreation of Ospreay Ricochet. The Best of Super Juniors match. And I'm looking at this from 2016. I'm looking at this and I'm like, this is a recreation of that, right? And then on Twitter, someone does a side by side. I'm like, yeah, fuck yeah, I was right. But it wasn't good. Let's circle back to the routine. It wasn't good. It was clunky and slow compared to Will and Ricochet, who were much more polished wrestlers and who, yes, did the same moves, who did the same things that Ruka and Jordan did, but crisper, snappier, with more intent, more resolution. I'm watching these two girls go, and I see them thinking about their moves. I see them thinking about what's coming up next, what I need to do next. And that's where you lose me in the concept of a professional wrestling match. This is where I'm like, these are trainees who are showing us, look what we've trained. Look at what we've put together, this nice little choreography. And again, it doesn't bother me that it's been choreographed. I have no issue with it. Some of your favorite professional wrestlers would put together their matches before going into the ring to the slightest detail. Randy Macho Man Savage is probably the most famous one. A lot of wrestlers just called it in the ring. They let the heels do it, especially back in the territory days. Randy wanted everything planned out to every minute detail. It's not, again, these are not things that are problematic. And I can appreciate these wrestlers trying out stuff, going out there, seeing what sticks. Can we pull this off? I don't have an issue with that. But what it ends up showing me is that these are wrestlers doing things that are above their heads, that is above their pay grade. If you know, they're not ready to be doing the things that they want to be doing in this match. And it just shows. Again, not necessarily a problem, but I could see right through it. It didn't endear me to the match, but I'm adult enough, I'm reasonable enough to sit back and see with the level, with the number of years experience these women have doing the type of match that they did, go, at least their heart's in the right place. They're trying stuff out. You can't fault me for thinking this. This is the kind of thing that you'd see on the indies regularly, in the US indies all the time. So, it's not great what they're doing, but they're still in their infancy when it comes to professional wrestling, and they're like, they want this to work so bad. They want to get in the mix so bad that they're just ready to try all sorts of stuff to make it happen. Now, if I'm a trainer there, if I'm Michael Hickenbottom, I'm telling them, ladies, you might want to consider doing things that you're able to land, as opposed to this, as opposed to, slowing things down, moves looking clunky, ruining the flow of the match because someone forgot their spot here and you did a kip up, and now we have to sort of reset the script because we're off script and we don't know what to do because we don't have the experience to do it, right? You got to learn on the job in this wacky pro wrestling thing. So, I don't think this was a great match, because especially what followed after. Because again, everyone focused on the Ospreay Ricochet homage. And honestly, these women could be watching so much worse than Will Ospreay and Ricochet. If they're sitting down at the PC and they're pulling out, DVDs of Best of Super Juniors, for God's sakes, they could be doing a lot worse. If you ask me, It's not it's not this tremendous pile of shit and negative that a lot of people are making it out to be. But even outside of the routine, the rest of the match wasn't very good. But they're trying stuff out, creative stuff, the flippy, 450 lariat. I'm like, okay. I feel someone's going to get really hurt really bad by that one day, but sure. Go ahead. Like, it's not, I think the discourse around this is completely missing the point per usual. And people who are burying this 9 feet under are being too severe. They're being way too rough. These are the same people who were going to turn around and give like 4 stars to, Roxanne Perez in one of her Weapons Wild matches a few months ago, which were trash. Bad matches from a wrestler who has much more experience than Jordan and Ruka. I'm bothered when I think about this match. This is what bothers me is it's the extremes. Again, like I think the people calling this the worst thing they've ever seen are completely off base. Just like I think the people calling it great are off base. I have this thing. And sometimes, I have this thing, trying to say too many things at once, so let's start with the introduction. I have this thing where I try to reserve calling things great until they are. I feel like we throw the word great around so much that it lost its purpose, it lost its meaning. We don't know what we're talking about anymore when we say something's great because everything is great all the time. Calling this match great is false. And this is a belief I have in regards to matches and in regards to pro wrestlers. When people tell me Nia Jax is doing the greatest work of her career, I'm like, holy shit, pull up some matches for me. Then no one is able to do it. No one is able to pull up any matches. When I'm in the Pro Wrestling Illustrated committees for the committee for the women's list for the 250, I sometimes have to argue. It's like, why say people are great when they haven't hit it yet? And why should we try to force this or advance this or create a narrative around their great when the moment they do great things, it will come naturally and will be much more meaningful? Everything has to be great. And if everything is great, then nothing is great because everything is on the same level. And then when you say to someone, oh yeah, what they did was absolutely great, it's just like another, all right, fantastic, when it should be meaningful. It's like when people get upset when Dave Meltzer gives a match 4 stars and they're screaming at how great it is. It should have been a 5-star match. A 4-star match is a great match, you absolute nimrods. A 5-star match is an all-time classic. It's a match of the year. It's something that should be embedded in your memory for years to come. There's nothing wrong with the 4-star match. There's nothing wrong with the 3.5-star match. But no, everything has to be great. And if it's not great, then you're a hater, you're wrong. And this is what happens when you talk to children and people who are insecure. They can't have conversations about this stuff because it has to be great. I can sit here and tell you all that, oh, this is good, this is pretty good, this was very good. You know how many times I'm like, this is very, very, very good. And I come short of telling you great because I didn't think it was a great match, but you can have a really, really good, fantastic match without it being great. If it's not great, it sucks. The person who said it's not, who didn't say it was great, is a hater. And then everything explodes. Then everything comes apart. Then there's no more room for criticism. But if everything is great all the time, it stops being impactful. And it's not helping the talent improve or get the show better if everything is great all the time. Because if everything is great, they keep doing the same thing, then they're going to keep doing the same things over and over and over, and things will get stagnant, and people will fall off, the shows will drop in quality. That's all there is to it. I mean, I saw it today. Again, people sharing me stuff on Twitter where, look, Brian Alvarez reviewed the match, said he didn't think it was a wrestling match. I respectfully disagree, but I understand what he means when he says that. When he says it's a choreographed routine, I understand what he means. I don't think it's as bad as he makes it out to be, but I understand what he means. What did this do? It created the brigade to come after him and Dave Meltzer by interim, right? Saying, oh, you can't possibly believe this. Why can't? This is the kind of criticism that fosters toxicity within the wrestling, the online community, where it's, Christ, I think it's a very valid criticism. He didn't shit on them, didn't tell them they stunk. He said he didn't think it was a match. You even got Ryan Satin coming out of the mothballs on this one, putting up a shield as well, saying a little common courtesy, common courtesy. He just said he didn't think it was a match. He feels like it was closer to a choreography, a dance, a routine than a match. And I understand what he means. I don't agree, but I understand. And I think it's a fine criticism. But these people are acting as if Alvarez tore them a new asshole. Said Sol Ruca doesn't belong in a WWE ring. Jordan should be shipped off. She should be kicked out of the company. She's terrible. He didn't even say anything remotely close to that. And this is coming from the guy, Brian Alvarez, who week after week says nothing but glowing reviews for the weekly NXT show. But he says one thing on a match which the popular opinion is this was great, but it's not great. But because he was a contrarian, because he didn't exactly, because he didn't fall in with the mob comes after him. This goes right, it connects it right into the piece I wrote for Voices of Wrestling, talking about the shrinking space that we have for online wrestling criticism. There was nothing savage in what he said. People got into their feelings. They're insecure about the product they're watching to the point that they have to stick up for this company, this billion-dollar company, which I have never understood. But they have to stick up. They feel like they have to put up shields to protect this company because they're so insecure about watching it. Because they know deep down inside, NXT ain't great. It's not that fantastic. Which is wild because WWE for the past, we're getting on to 18 months, 2 years at this point, is hotter than it's been in years. Monster ratings, monster gates, attendance is every conceivable public-facing metric is up. And yet these people are still insecure about one guy saying, I'm not sure this was a match. Bullshit. These are the same people then who say, who on one hand will say, Meltzer star ratings are nonsense, they're not worth anything, no one should pay any heed to them. But then when Meltzer rates something they don't like, they're going to come after him. Insecurity. That's all it is. Insecurity, immaturity. And I say children, a lot of these people are not children. Ryan Satin is not a child. He's a grown-ass adult who somehow felt like who somehow felt that feelings got hurt here or whatever, and felt he had to say something on a critique, which I thought was fair, it's fine, negative, absolutely, but not a scorched earth type of situation. And these are the same people who then turn around and say, this is great. And these are the same people. The Venn diagram, let's put it this way. The Venn diagram of people who suddenly think this match was great and who hated the Ospreay Ricochet clip that's been circulating on Twitter since 2016 is they connect. You'll see a lot of overlap. Suddenly, everyone is, oh wow, isn't this great? They gave an homage to Ricochet and Will Ospreay. They recreated their most famous sequence, right? A sequence that most of these WWE fans shit on. A sequence that people called disparagingly flippy-do shit. This was like the cornerstone. This was the example. I can't stand people doing shit like this. Shows up on NXT. Oh, fantastic. Let's applaud it. And yet, it is the very definition of flippy-do shit. Of just throwing yourself off the ropes, doing stuff for the sake of doing stuff. Again, I don't have a problem with it, but that's what it was. And yet these people are now giving it a standing ovation and protecting it at all costs. And for years, we're shitting on this same type of wrestling, which goes to prove, once again, what I've been saying for a while now, is that WWE fans just want more WWE. You do a sequence that was done in New Japan almost 10 years ago, 8 years ago at this point, that has been poo-pooed on by WWE fans since, and you put it in WWE and now they'll applaud it. That's all there is to it. WWE fans, they just want more WWE. That's all. They don't want pro wrestling. They don't want... If there's going to be diversity in pro wrestling, it's going to be in WWE. If it happens anywhere else, it's to be mocked. It's to not even be considered. It's to be discarded. It's garbage. It's trash. And when they this is the company, right? These are the same fans who say, I need stories. I need stories to get me into these. Boy, we need the monologues, the mid-ring monologues, the mid-match monologues in the ring and so on and so forth. And the stuff that personally I couldn't stand with the bloodline stuff. And they tell me, no, absolutely not, Warren, you're absolutely wrong. This is terrible, so on and so forth. But the minute that they get something even sniffs like that just even smells like pro wrestling, something that goes out that goes beyond slapping on a headlock, and the minute they get something where it's like, oh, this is exciting, is this PWG? Then they get up in arms and they get excited and say, look how great this is. Despite them having their main criticism of other companies, and I'm not just talking about AEW, other companies saying, it's just wrestling flippy-do shit and there's no stories. And they get the flippy-do shit without a story, without a cohesive in-ring story. And they're losing their minds. They're tearing their shirts at how great they thought it was. So no, if you were to come and tell me, if you were to come and tell me, Warren, what makes this match not great? Well, I told you. It's slow, it's clunky, there's no crispness to it. You look at what it doesn't matter that they're redoing Ospreay Ricochet move for move. They're not doing it as well. It does come across as a pale copy. It's kind of like going to see, a cover band, an Aerosmith cover band. I don't know why you'd go watch an Aerosmith cover band, right? But you'd go watch an Aerosmith cover band and you're like, man, the lead singer, his voice is off, he doesn't have it, and the guitar stinks. You know what I mean? They're a cover band, they're doing the Aerosmith songs, but they're just not doing it as good. Right? Because that's the issue. And then there's a whole match. There's a whole match that also follows the Ospreay Ricochet thing. So when people come after Dave, for instance, so I think gave like 4.5 stars to the match back in 2016. They're like, well, you gave 4.5 stars to that match. Why not this one? Well, because there's a whole fucking match that followed, and the rest of the match is excellent as well. We always focus on the opening to the match, but there's a whole match. There's a whole match that these guys did, which was tremendous. It's not just about the opener. The opener is the discussion. It's the clip, but all these people only watch the clips. That's all they want is the clips. And then they do whataboutisms. And I don't give a shit about your whataboutisms. What about AEW? Well, do you shoot this shit all the time? I'll tell you what. If Ray Phoenix and Dante Martin were to redo Ricochet Ospreay, they'd do it better than Sol Ruca and Kalani Jordan did. Absolutely, without question. If in CMLL, Mascara Dorada and Atlantis Jr. did it, it would be better as well. And I'd probably be raving about it as opposed to trying to be fair and just and balanced. I'd probably be sitting here, goddamn, we got ourselves a great match. Hiromu and Francesco Akira in New Japan. Same. They do it and it would be better than what we saw. So what's the connective tissue here? What is the thing that makes that in this whataboutism doesn't make sense? I'm comparing two green as grass rookies to some high class, world class professional wrestlers who have been doing this for a while and who are great, crisp, precise, and excellent at what they do. And I've watched both. And these people that are putting up the defense and are whataboutism about about this match, they never watched the full Will Ospreay Ricochet match. I would even go as far as to say they didn't even watch the full Heatwave match, that they just watched the clips on Twitter. Because that's what we do. That's what we do on Twitter. We don't watch matches anymore. We watch clips. And that's how we decide whether something is good or not. Get mad at people for giving the original match 4+ stars, and this one should get 4+ stars. No, that's nonsense. I've watched both, and I can tell you with confidence that one is a truly great match, a singular milestone in professional wrestling, one that has changed the way that people approach light heavyweight matches from that point on, whether you like it or not. And the other match is not. It's an exhibition by two green wrestlers, and that's also fine. Because you know what? Here's the ultimate whataboutism. If you hated Ospreay and Ricochet, you should hate this match. You should hate Sol Ruca versus Kalani Jordan. You should. Be consistent. But you're not consistent. Most likely. You just want WWE. You want more WWE. Let's move on. Axiom and Nathan Frazier successfully retained the NXT tag team titles against Chase U. This was great. Like, this was a great match. I had a blast watching this. No jokes, no memes. I thought that, like, this is unquestionably the match of the night. And it was high octane, real friggin' good, creative spots. I don't know, stuff being put together. And I'm like, oh, this is fun. Well thought out. A good moment to do it. Duke Hudson looking like a real badass, like a big badass in this match. Lots of near falls and good near falls. Crowd was into it. It was tremendous. And there was some miscommunication between Nathan Frazier and Axiom. Clearly, they're teasing the split up angle here, and it almost cost them the titles, but thankfully didn't get into the way. Axiom won with the golden ratio. Great stuff. And you know, I wrote in my notes as I'm watching the match, I wrote here, this was a great match. I fear it's all downhill from here on out. And I was right. I was right. Roxanne Perez successfully retained the NXT Women's title against Lola Vice. Offense, in this match, you had offense so soft, you want to wipe your butt with it. For someone who is supposed to be the shooter, you know, MMA trained, I don't know if she's just pulling back because she was told, look, you know, you wrestle a little too snug, and she's pulling back and she's learning how to control herself better. I don't know, but Lola Vice doesn't have a really convincing offense. She really doesn't. And I mean, this whole match, it's clunky. The women are out of position. I'm still baffled at Perez, her spot in this company. You know, they keep referring to her as a prodigy, but there are many wrestlers out there, her age, younger, who have picked up on this so much better than her. You know, that to me, a prodigy should mean that she just tears the house down every time, right? That she's just an amazing athlete to look at. I don't think this is the case. You know, Lola Vice in this match, she swats the post with her arm, and you know, Roxanne Perez works the arm. It's fine. You know, if anything, the heel turn for Perez is good because, you know, she just has to work limbs. She can slap on a headlock. She doesn't have to be super explosive, energetic throughout, you know, selling. She just needs to dish it out. And I felt at some point there was the natural conclusion to this match at some point where, look, they just rolled out of the ring. They just ended up rolling out of the ring. It's so weird. It's so weird. Roxanne Perez continues to be the most mid wrestler for real, and we're completely overrated. she wins after doing a couple of pop rocks. You know, she messes one up and they have to reset for another one. I don't know. I gave this match 2.5 stars. And then the main event, where Ethan Page defeated Trick Williams, Javon Evans, and the chairman, Shawn Spears, to become NXT champion. That's right. I'm sorry if I'm spoiling this for you. I understand what this match is about. I understand what the setup is here. You got Page, you got Spears, two guys that are well regarded as people who understand in ring and can guide these young guys through a match. You know, again, like I said with the Ruka and Jordan match, you can learn a lot. You learn in wrestling most by actually getting in the ring and performing in front of people, as opposed, you can train as much as you want, but your reps have to come in the ring. So I know what they're doing here. And they threw in Javon Evans, who is, you know, the new flavor of the moment for NXT. Everyone's losing their mind over him. And I think with reason, this guy is pretty friggin' spectacular. This guy leaps like crazy. The elevation he gets is amazing. And fun little look. I really like how he was flipping off people in this match, other guy like Ethan Page at one point. And I'm like, I'm sure someone's going to have a little talk with him after the match, because he's not supposed to do that. I'm sure he's not supposed to do that. But I like that. I like that he was I like that he was able to insert a little, you know, organic into this NXT, this overly produced, very plastic NXT. You know, it's like, oof. Yeah, I thought that his performance was remarkable. He clearly was the standout here. Not Trick. You know, again, Trick is another one of these very green individuals that they're pushing because he has a great crowd connection. Don't get me wrong. That's a good thing. I'm not trying to say that disparagingly. But all of that was very good. And then you had the two vets. Then you had Spears and Ethan Page doing stuff, and you could not get me to care about these guys, like these perennial mid-carders being put into this main event spot. I can't get into it. I am sorry, I just can't. Javon Evans takes a crazy bump on the commentary table. Like he feels like he came up a little short. It was a great bump. And then Trick Williams delivers a knee strike to Ethan Page, who falls back onto Javon Evans, who was already flat on the mat, as Shawn Spears drags Trick Williams out of the ring, preventing Trick Williams from getting into the ring to prevent the match from ending. And I don't know why Shawn Spears didn't let him go, because it was also to Shawn Spears' advantage for this match to continue, because that would have meant that he still had an opportunity to continue, an opportunity to win the match. So it doesn't quite make sense. But Ethan Page basically got knocked out, fell on top of a guy, and won the title. So if you're into that kind of stuff, I'm good, happy for you. To me, I think this is lame. I don't know what they want to do with Ethan Page. This is probably a highlight of his career. Yeah, hey, go AEW mid-card power, go. Your mid-carder is our champion. Okay? You know, I got no thoughts. I thought this was such a basic ass match. And I'm looking at it and it's like, I'm looking at Cage Match, 9.19 rating on Cage Match, which is completely bonkers. I thought this was basic, well done. Javon Evans was tremendous in this match. I thought he was the shining star. But you, at this point in 2024, you cannot get me to get excited about Sean Spears and Ethan Page. You couldn't even get me excited about them in AEW. Like, yeah, you heard me. 9.19 on Cage Match. 298 votes. I got this together earlier today. So there's not that much difference. Now, let just for giggles here, let's pull up the Cage Match. And let's see in what company. Let's see in what company this. By the way, Nick Nutter, nice to see you. Welcome to the big program. Let's see what company this match is keeping. Okay, let me go see first. Let's do this right. First of all, let's go see if okay, it is still official 9.19 based on 312 votes. Okay, so 9.19. Keep that in mind. Let's go see what type of company this match is holding on the overall scale here. So a 9.19 on Cage Match would put it in the area of other great matches like Mike Bailey versus Will Ospreay from Impact last year. Jeff Cobb versus Shingo Takagi from 2021, where the Stadium Stampede match, the first Stadium Stampede match. Let's see. What else we got here? Shingo Takagi versus Kazuchika Okada. AJ Styles versus Christopher Daniels from TNA back in 2005. We're holding that company. Kenny Omega versus Pac, the Iron Man match from 2020. AJ Styles versus Kazuchika Okada is actually ranked lower, 9.18. We got a Tenryu Tsuruta match in here as well. Hiroshi Tanahashi versus Tomohiro Ishii from 2022. Aja Kong versus Meiko Satomura. Jay Briscoe versus Mark Briscoe from 2007. And should I go on? No, I think you get the idea. This is the company this match is keeping. I'm just looking at what else. Kenny Omega and Kota Ibushi versus Tomohiro Ishii and Will Ospreay from 2018. I remember this match. Tremendous match. It is ranked lower. It is ranked lower than Ethan Page winning the NXT Championship match. Oh, God. So, listen. Heatwave, I didn't think was a great show. I don't even think it was good. I think it was fine, and it coasted a lot on vibes, and the crowd was really into it, and I think it helped out a lot. I think it helps out a lot that we had one really great match. Look, I absolutely recommend the tag team match. And I can't stand Chase U. I think it's a stupid gimmick. I think everyone looks stupid with their sweaters and you know the marching, you know, the battle song and Thea Hale. I think it's all stupid. And then the other guy that they have waving the flag, it's a stupid gimmick. I think it's stupid. But the match was great. Like a legitimate great match. Probably one of the best WWE's going to put on all year. Trust me. So, you know, a fine show, but not even close to the praise that people are showering upon it. It's just nonsense. It really is nonsense. Let's wrap things up very quickly by recapping the New Japan Soul shows that occurred over the past couple of weeks. When I say recap them, what I'm mostly interested in, and I think what you should be mostly interested in, are the qualifying matches for the G1. As you may know, one thing that was added to the G1 Climax this year was a play-in tournament to determine who would get the 2 last spots of the field of 20. So there were basically 9 wrestlers per block, 2 blocks, A block, B block. So 9 wrestlers per block that were announced, with 2 open slots to be determined by the qualifying tournament. And like I said at the very start, when this kicked off, if this isn't a way to sort of kick away our pals Yujiro and Toriano and so on, you know, get rid of the hangers-on of the past few years who haven't really been contributing to making the G1s really exciting. If this isn't a way to do that, then I don't know what this is for. If we just end up with Chase Owens and Kenta being added into the mix again, I'm like, well, okay, God, you know, what do you want from me, kind of thing. But this is not what happened at all. A little shocking, actually, because the 2 final men to be thrown into the G1 are Callum Newman for Block A and Oleg Boltin for Block B. Now, what's interesting here is that these are 2 very young guys. Oleg Boltin is still a young lion specifically, right? He's still doing the black boots and the little black trunks and so on and so forth. And Callum is a 21-year-old coming in from England, a guy that has the Will Ospreay stamp of approval, who he's brought in to enjoy the tournament, to enjoy his, to have us enjoy watching him grow into a seasoned professional. So it was a little surprising to see both guys come in, even though this is kind of what I expected to happen. It was nonetheless surprising because while we may be getting rid of the Yujiros, the Yanos, no Kenta this year, no nights off, as we like to say, there are people who are not making the cut that have been around and been an integral part of the G1s for such a long time that you're like, this is kind of shocking. Hiroshi Tanahashi is absolutely shocking. He was in 22 consecutive G1 climaxes, right? I think it's 22, 21 or 22. I have a little bit of a doubt, but the number is still impressive. He has never missed a G1 in over 20 years. And now he's not even in it. He got knocked out by Oleg Boltin in the semifinals for the B block qualifying tournament. He was one of the wrestlers who had a bye that went directly to the semifinals. Boltin had to take out Toriano, who, by the way, is his trios partner. These guys are six-man tag team champions, and so is Hiroshi Tanahashi, who is another third of the six-man title. So Boltin got rid of his tag partners. Tomohiro Ishii is another shocker. A lot of people are very surprised by that. Ishii was a stalwart of the New Japan of New Japan's G1 affairs. Typically a guy where we would all sit down after to do our postmortems and think about it and give our rankings, our ratings and whatnot. And we'd be like, yeah, you know what? Ishii, MVP of the tournament. How many years were we systematically saying that? This is a guy whose job was in there to make the others look good. He never won. He'd never win. Always the bridesmaid, never the bride. But, the bridesmaid was often hotter than the bride in this circumstance in many occasions. So, just a fantastic, or a shocking, I should say, turn of events on that front. And look, we don't talk about Yoshihashi all that much. And I think the fact that he's out of the tournament as well is significant, because Yoshihashi, while never being the solid, contender to be a top guy or a singles star, over the past, I'd say 3 G1s, was really turning into someone that you could rely on to have a really good match in the tournament. Here's a guy who was always ready to leave it all out there in the ring and whose performances were always solid. Sure, it's Yoshihashi. What you see is what you get, right? I understand that, but nonetheless, he made it to this point. He made it to this point by building a reputation of being a solid performer in the G1. So that's one that's these are very interesting ones. And Taichi also being knocked out of the tournament by Oleg Boltin in the finals for the Block B qualifier is a little surprising as well, because I feel like a lot of people believed that Taichi would become the next Ishii. Here's the thing. Ishii's not getting any younger. When we talk about the G1 being a grueling affair, we're not making this up. It's not kayfabe. It is truly a difficult physical ordeal for the guys who are involved. It's a tough tour. So I think there's something to be said that Ishii just can't do a tour of 9 high octane matches in a row anymore. Drop him in, sprinkle him in for a match here or two, but maybe his time for doing these G1s, just physically he can't handle it anymore. So Taichi is another guy who gets into these G1 matches and makes everyone look great. And plus is fantastic on top of that. Crowd loves him too. He's got this great rapport. Little surprising. If someone were to tell me if Taichi would have defeated Oleg Boltin, I was like, okay, I get it, sure. But Boltin won. Boltin and Newman, 2 young guys going in. Now, let's not get this twisted. These guys are going into the tournament to get pinned. These guys are going into the tournament to eat some L's, and that's fine. This is their first entry. Typically, New Japan booking goes that way. If this is your first time in a G1, you're eating shit, and you're going to eat shit. It kind of goes like that. Now, Newman and Boltin in this circumstance, though, even though they're pin eaters, not unlike a Yujiro, not unlike a Chase Owens or a Yoshihashi, these are guys who nonetheless have something to prove. And this is something that me and Chris Samsa talk more about on the G1 Climax preview that's coming up later this week. So be sure you subscribe to the channel or you follow me on your favorite podcast application because you don't want to miss it. But this is something that we get into a little more, is that this tournament feels like it's a tournament where everyone in here has a spot to earn, has something to prove to the people backstage. So there's a lot of attention being put on this. Callum Newman knows that even though he's losing, if he puts on great matches, makes people look good, does what he has to do, he's going to be considered for next year, and he's going to be considered for pushes and bigger and better things. Same thing with Oleg Boltin. And both are great pro wrestlers regardless. So even if they're losing along the way, it doesn't matter. It's their first appearance in the G1. And you know what? They might sneak in a win somewhere. Boltin right now is on this run where he's just doing great things. He's finishing matches he's winning matches for his team when he's doing the trio stuff, and now he's beating his partners, beating Hiroshi Tanahashi. He was still, beloved, the ace of the company, so on and so forth. I wouldn't be surprised if, he sneaks in a win or two where you're like, oh, I was not expecting this. And that's what makes this field fun. That's what makes all of this G1 setup this year fun. So the qualifiers did exactly what they had to do. They had to get rid of the dead weight and introduce us to the new weight, I guess. And that's where we're at. This is what we're getting into, and I feel like the play-ins, on top of it all, on top of giving us kind of what we wanted, it got the fan base excited. I'm hearing people who are very typically low on New Japan showing excitement, showing signs of, oh, you know what, they got me this year. I'm into it. I want to see how this goes. I think it's rekindling something about the G1 that used to be special, that maybe has been a little diluted over the past few years. Now I feel it's refocused, and I think the play-ins had a lot to do with that. It's instilled confidence that New Japan might be on the right path to really be doing some great things this year. So fingers crossed, it's all coming to a head very soon. Again, I'm having my G1 Climax preview show airing this Friday with Chris Samsa of sportofprowrestling.com. The guy who supplies stats and information to the English commentary team over on New Japan World. So he'll be joining me. This will air on Friday. If you're a member of the Mr. Warren Hayes Show channel on YouTube, you get early access to it on Wednesday. And then starting on July 20th, my daily G1 coverage begins. The entire tournament, I'm following it day by day, step by step. I'll be there. And I'm excited. I'm looking forward to it. It should be a lot of fun. Because I like fun. It shows. So should you. Thank you, everyone. We're going to wrap this up officially now. Thank you, everyone, for joining me tonight for another live recording of the Mr. Warren Hayes Show. Yes, we record live every Tuesday night at 7 p.m. Eastern right here on youtube.com/Mr. Warren Hayes. So if you can ever make it, it'd be tremendous. We had a lively crowd tonight. Lots of great folks popping in. We'd love to see your kind of great folk popping in here as well. So come and join us. It's a great place to be. Just like the Mr. Warren Hayes Show Discord, the link is in the description. Be sure to join us there if you want to continue talking pro-res. We like talking pro-res. So you are invited to come chat pro-res with us in the Mr. Warren Hayes Show Discord. And if you're listening to this on your favorite podcast application, well, 5-star reviews on Apple Podcasts, 5-star ratings on Spotify help out a great deal and are deeply appreciated. I will be back Friday for the AEW Dynamite division, the AEW Dynamite review. It's going to be an eventful night. At the very least, it's going to be newsworthy. So be sure to subscribe to the channels and the podcast so that you don't miss out on that. On Thursday, at some point, I will be here with the review. In the meantime, I hope you all have a great rest of your week. Thank you very much for being here, and I'll see you next time.